Happy New Year! What is it today? The 1st of January. How exciting. So, thought I'd do a 1st of January vlog. Can't actually remember what I said in my last vlog. It was a little while ago, so I do apologise. I haven't vlogged in between. And I've left you hanging on a knife edge about what might be happening to me. But it's been an interesting 5 weeks. So I can't actually remember what I said in my last vlog, or where or what was happening. But basically over the last 5 weeks I've been either in hospital or in a hospice, because I've not been very well. It would appear that the disease is now quite aggressive, and I think I said in my last vlog that they give me potentially a couple of weeks, short months, but hey, we're all individuals, and so I don't know whether we're short weeks, short months, whatever. We are what we are. But I've been pretty close to the edge, I think, over the last 5 weeks, it's fair to say. So I went into hospital because I was vomiting, couldn't keep anything down. And because I am an Addison's patient, I have to take steroids all the time to help me function, essentially get out of bed, maintain my blood pressure, that sort of thing. And I wasn't keeping them down, and so I was pretty close to being in, or if not, I was in Addison's crisis. So off I trotted to the hospital, and they diagnosed me with a pneumonia when I was in the hospital. This was after my trip to Manchester, where I was vomiting and then vomited on Exeter Airport's runway, much to their disgust. They were disgusted with me, I'm sure. So that was that. So I was in the hospital. I was determined to go to Paddy's nativity because I've missed his first day at school due to the TILS treatment. And so I discharged myself from hospital, rightly or wrongly, with community care. I hasten to add, I didn't just discharge myself without having a plan in place. Went to the nativity, managed to hold it together through the nativity, but then was really quite unwell afterwards. And actually what we found was the community care, although extremely good, couldn't kind of keep up with the pace of how unwell I was. And so my specialist person came out to see me at home and had found me a hospice bed, so that was the compromise, because I didn't want to go back into hospital. I went into Rowcroft Hospital, hospice, which I have to say is very lovely, and I've been looked after very well. And if I had to go back, then, or when I have to go back, it's not going to be a frightening experience. It's a lovely place to be. So I went into the hospice with this query pneumonia. Infection markers were all over the place, other blood markers were all over the place. Got told I didn't have very long. I think there was the decisions over things like whole brain radiotherapy and things like that, which or discussions, should I say, rather than decisions, but I was too unwell to even consider going down any of those routes at that point. And one of the doctors had noticed that my heart area looked bigger on one of the x-rays, and so I got taken to the hospital for a scan, came back to the hospice, and then immediately got transferred blue lights back to Torbay Hospital to the cardiac centre, where I was essentially told I had a pericardial effusion, So a pericardial effusion essentially is your heart is within a sac, and unfortunately for me that sac had filled with fluid, which meant it was pressing on my heart, which meant my heart couldn't beat properly, which is probably why I was feeling so unwell. Not quite sure how long that's been going on for, but when they drained it, which was the most horrendous experience, but when they drained it, after 2 days, I'd had nearly 2 litres of fluid removed from the area, which is quite astonishing, really, to think that that was there and causing me that much problems. So I spent a couple of nights on coronary care. They were eventually happy with me and sent me back to the hospice. And things have been more about symptom control at the hospice. So I've got significant pain in my right hand side of my chest. And as it transpires, the melanoma is essentially within the intercostal muscles. So every time I breathe, the tumours within the muscles cause the muscle to go into spasm. And so I find it very difficult to breathe. And so we've gone down various routes. And I've had essentially at the moment steroids injected into the muscles in between the rib spaces in order to assist with pain management. I've been on lignocaine infusions, you name it, I've been on it, and I am now officially, get me, a methadone user. Woohoo! Yes, I am. So, methadone is the substitute that's given to heroin addicts when they're trying to come off of heroin. But on discussion, and there is quite a lot of research out there that shows that it's really good with not just pain but neuropathic pain, things like arthralgia where your skin's kind of really hurting and things like that. And so we are trying methadone at the moment, and it appears to be hitting the nail on the head. I wouldn't say I'm completely pain free, but I've gone from a 20 out of 10 on the pain score to maybe a 3 out of 10, so I think we're kind of getting there with that. And the injections can be repeated, or I could potentially have the nerves completely ablated on that side of my chest so that I don't feel any pain in that area. But that's a very painful procedure, so we need to think about that one. So that's kind of been the last 5 weeks. I was allowed out for Christmas, had a brilliant Christmas, family came down, actually Boxing Day, so we had our Christmas Day on Boxing Day, and had fun, did what we needed to do. Then I had to go back to the hospice because I've been on a syringe driver, so the ultimate aim was to come off the syringe driver so I don't have to carry around these pumps of medication all the time, and I needed to be monitored while that happened. So that's been happening over the last week, and now I'm home with various plans in place to assist me. And I do need assistance because I've got 2-ton Tessie elephant legs. Forget cankles. I actually am not quite sure that I have a foot anymore because my leg is so big it sort of surrounds my foot. Because I'm just full of fluid. My stomach is full of fluid, but the fluid is within the tissues. It's not fluid that they can drain off, unfortunately. It is better, and I can't say that I'm the person that's suffering the worst in the world with it, but I've never quite appreciated how debilitating such edema can be. And it is debilitating, like having to lift your legs because you can't actually lift them normally or raise them normally because they're so heavy, because they're so full of fluid. Not being able to have a bath because I can't get out of the bath because I can't tuck my legs up in order to stand up out of the bath. It's just silly things that you take for granted, and I feel like my body is not my own. I kind of look at it and think, whose body is this? Because it's certainly not mine, not the one that I recognise as myself, and that's a bit of a head churner. What other news? I've been put back on a drug that, an oncology drug that I've been on before and has helped before with reducing the tumour load. This drug is not a cure, it's just a something that helps quality of life. It's called dabrafenib, and then I take another drug alongside it called trametinib. And so I've been put on those, and at the moment I think we seem to be having some positive results with some of the more obvious tumours, like the one in my head here. Although there's no hair there, the tumour is actually reduced in size. Oh, look at my hair. Look how much it's going back. And actually it's really tight curls if you look really, really closely. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with it, but I seem to be growing an afro. Hee, Michael Jackson, here I come. Sorry, I'm in a stupid mood today. So yeah, some of the tumours seem to be reducing in size, so that's quite positive. I'm due to see the oncologist on Friday, so up for a bit more discussion then. And that's it really from a medical perspective of how I'm doing. So I'm doing 100% better than I was doing, but I'm more disabled than I ever have been, but perhaps clearer of mind. It's really difficult to explain, because I'm feeling weller, because perhaps there's not so much fluid around my heart. I've got another echo on Tuesday because there's a little bit more of a build-up of fluid, so I might have to go through the procedure again. But I'm feeling weller than I have done because of all of these side things that have been going on. But the cancer is obviously still there, and I'm still having to manage it and deal with it, and deal with the fact that my body is not recognisable as my own body. So things like walking, there's a point where I can walk, but then I have to get in a wheelchair because I just can't manage it anymore because my legs are too heavy, or I just get completely out of breath. And I guess it's, in a sense, I'm lucky that I'm as fit as I was to start off with, because if I wasn't, then there's no way I could do half of the stuff that I've managed to do in the past couple of weeks. So here we are in 2017, and I've been trying to think of things that I can do in order to make people aware, raise awareness. Well, there's two things. There's raising awareness of melanoma and what it does and how it affects people. And I was kind of wondering whether people, because I get normally about 500 views of these vlogs, and I was wondering whether it would be a reasonable idea that I could ask people to share my vlog with maybe a little piece above it saying why you're sharing it, to raise awareness of melanoma, because each time I vlog, if it gets shared by one of you guys, then that touches another audience that I don't touch. So that's one thing, and perhaps any ideas on a postcard, please, with regard to that, because I'd love to do things like skydive and cycle rides and stuff like that, but at the moment I'm a little bit limited to what I can do. And I'd like to start maybe raising some money, so maybe getting a GoFundMe page, and if anybody wants to set themselves a challenge and use my page, then that would be cool. So feel free to contact me if you want my phone number, message me on Facebook or whatever, and we can have a chat about that sort of thing. And then the other thing is, because of my situation, it's now for me a case of making memories for those that I will be leaving behind, because that is going to happen at some point. Don't get emotional, because I'm not in an emotional mood at the moment. So obviously we're working on things like developing things for the kids, working with a social worker, and stuff like that. I'm going to try and take the kids to Euro Disney, because that's just going to be a magical experience for them, and hopefully I'm going to be well enough to travel and do that with them, because that's really important for me. But any ideas of what I can do with them, with Sarah, with my family, in order to create and make memories. You know, photos are everything, videos are everything, but they kind of fade, and so any other tangible stuff that you can think of, I really, really, really would love to hear from you. So PM me again, because that's going to be, for me, the main focus over the coming weeks, fingers crossed months, is creating memories for me, of me, with me, while I have a quality of life that can be put out there and enjoyed. So, lots of things for you guys to think about, and lots of things that I would like to do and be positive about in the time that I have. I've been called lots of different things. Some of them I won't repeat on here, but inspiring, courageous, all of those sorts of things. And I don't feel it myself, but if that's what I am, then that's what I want to do. And 2017 is the year in which I want to do it. Even if I only have a couple of weeks to try and achieve it in, then you guys can take that legacy forward, in my name, and make sure that nobody has to go through what I'm going through right now. And just remember that melanoma is not something you necessarily get through sunbathing. You can't be critical of people that get melanoma and just go, oh well, you didn't look after your skin, you went out, you got sunburnt, da 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 da, because that's not the case. There are children that have melanoma. There are people out there that develop melanoma in places that the sun ain't never seen. And it's an aggressive cancer that essentially has no cure unless we catch it very, very early. And so raising awareness is like the biggest thing that we can do. It's the fastest growing cancer in the UK in certain age groups, and I want to try and protect you guys from what I'm going through. So, lots to do, lots to think about, and I will vlog again soon. Bye!